Hello, everybody. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. That is moi. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We have to return to a topic. And we all know what topic it is. And I did not want to return to this topic. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I kind of did want to return to the topic, but I hadn't planned on it. And then Friday night, Draymond Green punches LeBron James in his lower regions, in the nether regions. LeBron James takes offense. The two of them get into a back and forth. Somewhere in there, apparently, Draymond called LeBron a female dog. LeBron James took offense to that, as I imagine most people won't. But you know what? LeBron stepped over Draymond Green. But in all of that, Draymond Green gets a flagrant foul, and suspended for this game. Now, again, Draymond Green is not being suspended for what happened in that game, Game 4. Draymond Green is being suspended for his entire playoff run, the entirety of it. All of his decisions that were made with regards to him kicking out his leg and hitting Steven Adams and then kicking out his leg and nearly hitting Russell Westbrook in the face with a Bruce Lee kick. Draymond Green is being suspended for all of that behavior. Okay? It's compounding is what it is. And it's one of those things where I understand where you're coming from, where LeBron James steps over you. Is it disrespectful? Of course it's disrespectful. Like, nobody wants that. For God's sakes, during the game, I was watching the game with my brother. During the game, my brother was watching the video of Allen Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue. And the play that Allen Iverson had on Tyronn Lue was just a jumper. It wasn't like the most ridiculous play you'd ever seen. It was just a jumper. Tyronn Lue ended up slipping and falling after the fact. The only thing that makes that play worth remembering is that Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. That's the only thing that makes that play worth remembering. Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. Okay? The disrespect there is obvious. If someone is down on the ground and you just step over them or you look them dead in their face, then guess what? Guess what? That is entirely on you. Draymond Green knows that was disrespectful. LeBron James knows that was disrespectful. Kevin Love came out today and said that was disrespectful. Everybody knows it was disrespectful. There isn't a person there that thinks that, no, that's fine. That's fine. We step over people all the time. That happens. No, LeBron James was going to get a reaction from Draymond Green, and Draymond Green, being pretty much entirely all heart, all emotion, and all fire, reacted. And you got to be smarter than that in an NBA Finals game. You have to be smarter than that. You cannot let your emotions get the best of you there. Not you there. But what was interesting was I read an article by Ken Berger over the weekend of CBSSports.com talking about LeBron James and how LeBron James reacted to Draymond Green swinging at his nuts. And LeBron James' reaction was also a pretty strong reaction. He seemed to lose his temper as well. And Ken Berger in the article asserted that LeBron James needed to keep his cool there. LeBron James needed to keep a cool head in a situation where a man swung at his groin. Really? Only LeBron James brings out the Stephen A. Smith in everybody.
I'm not having it.
Not having it. Only LeBron James turns everybody into Stephen A. Smith. There is no explanation for this. LeBron James makes everybody crazy. If you love LeBron James, he makes you crazy. If you hate LeBron James, he makes you crazy. Look, the ideas that people hold about LeBron James, they hold way too strongly about LeBron James. Like, if LeBron James doesn't win this NBA Finals, we're going to be talking about calling him a modern-day Jerry West. We're going to say, how is it that LeBron James has only won 2 titles in 6 title runs? All the while neglecting the fact that going to 6 straight NBA Finals is one of the more ridiculous things that a person can even do. LeBron James has been to 6 straight NBA Finals. There's just something about LeBron James that brings out the crazy in absolutely everybody. And the only other person I can think of that's like that, and then actually now that I say that, there's lots of people I can think about that are like that. Kanye West is one of those people. Kanye West brings out the crazy in everybody. If you don't like Kanye West, he is the worst thing that ever happened to music. Okay, and I'm not a huge Kanye West fan, but I can't agree with that. But the people that like Kanye, it's too far in the other direction. The people that like Kanye West see him as a musical genius, a man who has revolutionized music continually over and over and over again. I mean, LeBron James has revolutionized basketball because there isn't a person at LeBron James' size that does what he does. And Kanye's been great, but has Kanye revolutionized the rap game? Come on. What are we doing here? Well, I mean, he's made a lot of great albums, but has he revolutionized rap music, honestly? And I know I'm probably in the minority on this one. I'm ready to hear this one. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that Kanye's overrated. I'm just saying, if you love him to the point of absurdity. If you hate him, you also hate him to the point of absurdity. Though I do have to say, a man who raps at a live musical concert with people who came to see his face with a mask on, I do have serious questions about that person. But I digress. Justin Bieber's another one of those people too, actually. Justin Bieber probably more so, because I think we can all admit that Justin Bieber's not that great. Usually it's the great ones that cause you to be this divisive. LeBron is great. Muhammad Ali, while he was fighting, great. And there were people that loved Ali. There were people that hated Ali. Kobe Bryant, great. You've got your Kobe lovers. You got your Kobe haters. There's not a ton of room in between there. Justin Bieber, I wouldn't call him great. But he has that same level of divisiveness, and I almost don't even know why. I suppose Prince was one of those people as well. I wonder with Bieber, though, specifically, because Bieber didn't have the talent. Like, Prince was great. Bieber doesn't have the talent. Like, no one is going to think, like, 50 years down the road, Justin Bieber is one of the great musicians that you ever got the chance to hear in your life. Michael Jackson, but he was great. There's not very many people who can do what it is that Justin Bieber does, which is to be okay at making music, okay at making pop music, and still have people just hate you, and still have people just love you without that middle ground in between. Miley Cyrus is another person like Bieber. Just nothing in between. You either love that person or you hate that person. And that's LeBron. He just brings out the crazy in everybody. You expect things from LeBron that you expect from no other athlete. You know, like LeBron James, Steph Curry has a 2-point game in an NBA Finals. He's the MVP, and everyone's like okay with it. Everyone's fine with it. You know why? Because we know that Steph's a little dinged up. Like, we know a lot of things about Steph Curry right now that's just like, okay, the length of this team, it's bothering him a little bit. If you have 2 points in an NBA Finals, but you get the win, you know, or you still have a series lead. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. It's obviously not ideal to have 2 points in an NBA Finals, but come on, it's not like the worst thing that ever happened, unless it was LeBron. Then it is the worst thing that ever happened. And it's not even close. And that is possibly the most bizarre thing. LeBron James can go to 6 straight NBA finals, and we are not impressed. And I would argue that it's been a while since we've been impressed with LeBron James. That all the great stuff that LeBron could do, we've seen it so consistently for so long, we are no longer amazed by what LeBron can do. You see what happens in a lot of movies, right? There's a certain effect that happens in a movie. And the first time you see it or the first time you hear it, it's pretty cool. But by the time 10, 12, 13 other movies have done it, it's not that cool. It's only vaguely interesting. And that's where we're at with LeBron. And by the way, we're starting to get there with Steph. Shooting three-pointers with the accuracy and skill that he does is an amazing thing to do. But we're already starting to get bored. I mean, the conversations about how Steph was great have started to turn into the conversations about how Steph's not that great. And I advise you not to completely jump into that conversation, because in that conversation is not enough room to appreciate the guy that's playing well while you have him here to watch. Don't spend your time hating on a guy that you get the chance to see that we're probably not going to see a guy quite like Steph ever again. We're going to see a lot of great shooters. We're going to see a lot of great ball handlers. We're going to see a lot of great players probably in the future. But a guy at Steph's height, finishing around the basket the way he does, shooting from distance the way that he does, completely warping a defense, I don't know that we're necessarily going to see that again. And you cannot use this time to hate that guy, because you know that the same thing happened with Michael Jordan. Everybody that hated Jordan, by the time Kobe came along, even the Jordan haters were on Jordan's side, because you're hating the new guy now. Don't do that. Don't be that person. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small slice of your day. I want to go into a Game 5 breakdown of the NBA Finals, which I will do in a little bit. Talk a little bit also more about the Baylor House of Regents. They are doing something that doesn't make any sense. But before I do all of that, I'd like to jump into the platforms. How can you reach us, and how can we reach you? Well, let me tell you. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can check all of those social media sites from our own website, hotnewstalkradio.com. That's hotnewstalkradio.com. And you can click on all of our social media links. If you'd like to listen to us live and you're on the go, I highly recommend listening to us on the TuneIn Radio app. It's completely free, absolutely free in your favorite app store. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a favorite, and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. I don't understand the University of Baylor. I do not get these people, because it's like 3 steps forward and 4 steps back with them. It looked like they got themselves together. They acknowledged the fact that there were sexual assaults on their campus and that they didn't do enough at the time to help the victims. All of these things are great steps forward. They fired the football coach, proving once and hopefully for the final time, football is not king over people's safety. They did the right thing. They demoted Ken Starr from being the chancellor, and then Ken Starr ended up stepping down for a few other reasons and is now just a law professor on campus. They took away all his power, and they changed up their system so that people can actually be heard. Sure, they won't release the Pepper Hamilton report, but that's fine. You can't win every battle. And just when you thought that things were turning around morally and ethically for Baylor, They hired Jim Grove to be their interim head coach. And Jim Grove, not known for winning football games so much as known for just being a moralist. You cannot go further from what happened under Art Briles than Jim Grove. And here it is. I'm excited. Baylor moving in the right direction, doing the right thing. Oh, never mind. They have suspended Art Briles for 1 season. Art Briles, who they fired, they have suspended for 1 season. So he's got to serve at least a 1-season suspension before returning back to Baylor, which means that there's a possibility that Art Briles, who was the head coach and was looking the other way when there were players on his football team that sexually assaulted people on his campus, that guy could come back and be the head coach of this football team again. And I understand the pressure to bring back Art Briles. I really, really do, okay? Art Briles is one of the best football coaches in America. And you saw what happened when Art Briles got fired. Every single recruit that he had for next year's recruiting class, all the players that committed to coming to Baylor, bounced except for one player who I appreciate because he was like, well, the education didn't change. I'm still going to Baylor. Everybody but one guy. And Baylor is looking at this and going, no, 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 no. We are not trying to go to the bottom of the Big 12 and fall back into obscurity all over again. We don't like that. We need to get out of here. But at the same time, you cannot bring Art Briles back. This story went too deep. It involved sexual assault. It involves the safety of students on that campus. And the one thing that shows that Baylor does not tolerate this kind of behavior and the kind of willful ignorance that precipitates this kind of behavior is firing Art Briles. There's nobody on that campus that had more power than him. And the right decision was to fire him. It was the tough decision. It is going to set Baylor back in football a lot. But you've got to take the moral high ground on that. There is nothing that says that you have no spine. There's nothing more weak-willed than going, oh, well, we didn't mean that firing. Our bad. So football really is more important then. That's the only conclusion that we can come away with because that's what your actions are telling us. People were sexually assaulted on your campus. Okay? And the guy who had control of the whole program, and I know that Art Briles is acting like he doesn't know stuff, but it's not possible to be the head football coach of a football team and not know stuff, especially if you've ever heard from any football coach ever, in any interview ever. Okay? Like how many times have you heard Nick Saban deliver interviews that just remind you that the person in control in the room is Nick Saban? Your football coaches are control freaks. They control everything. There's nothing that they don't know because they hate not knowing. You're telling me that Art Briles, easily one of the top 5 football coaches in the nation, didn't know? I find that very hard to believe. It's Urban Meyer, it's Nick Saban. Then you have to put Art Briles like right at 3, like right there. They think there aren't 3 guys better at coaching college football, better than those guys. So I understand the decision from a football perspective, but you can't make this decision from a football perspective because that's what got you in trouble in the first place, was making decisions from a football perspective when there were human beings, actual human beings that needed your help, and you looked the other way. Can't do that. That's such a horrible decision and a slap into the face of all the victims that you claim to be protecting by not releasing the report. Honestly, what is that either? Who are you protecting there? You could redact the names, you could redact the locations, but the only people that get away are the former players, some of whom are in jail for what they did. Okay, like this stuff got proven in a court of law. And what you're allowing to happen is disgraceful and quite frankly disgusting. And I say that as a person who loves football but loves to see people safe more. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. When we come back, we're going to break down Game 5 of the NBA Finals. How fast does Draymond Green hustle back to Oracle Arena after tonight's game? We'll talk about that on Clutch with Keon Rose next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. You and I know that real men are prepared for anything. You know what I'm talking about because you're a Take Charge guy. Everyone's talking about Grimm's Tactical, featuring first responder gear, survival gear and equipment, Voodoo Tactical, Leapers. For personal protection, Grimm's Tactical features non-lethal personal protection gear, AR/AK parts, knives, canning and dehydrating equipment. If you hike and camp, Grimm's Tactical has got what you're looking for. Bags and packs. And for your side piece, concealed carry holsters for men and women. Plus, Grimm's Tactical carries a wide variety of freeze-dried food. Wise Mountain House. Backpacker's Pantry. Grimm's Tactical, where law enforcement shops. Safari Lane. Blackhawk. 511. First responder gear at Grimm's Tactical. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road, in the shopping center next to the Walmart Marketplace. Look for the Mighty Mini U-Haul office. Grimm's Tactical is right next door. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra-large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet-friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Staying quite muggy out there through the nighttime with fair to partly cloudy skies. Lows 70 to 72. For Tuesday, another hot day. Highs lower 90s. A few widely scattered afternoon and evening storms will pop up. A few lingering showers and storms Tuesday night, a little more likely on Wednesday. Whether you're passionate muscle cars or antiques, motorcycles or trucks, you won't want to miss the car show and swap meet at Abba's House in Hickson this Saturday from 10 to 2. Got a car to show. Registration begins at 8 a.m. And I'm Swarteen 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Russell Stroud reporting. A man was wrenched out of his vehicle by 5 juveniles with a pellet gun. The police tried to stop the stolen gold Chevy Malibu on Aquarium Way, but the car kept going. Police gave chase. It ended on North Shore when the 5 juveniles crashed the car into a tree in front of the Walgreens. They ran outside and were apprehended by the police. A scooter driver's leg was shredded when an SUV pulled out in front of him on Broad Street. The driver of the SUV said that he looked both ways on Broad Street but didn't see any headlights, so he went ahead. Charges are pending on the scooter driver, pending the results of a toxicology report. A bullet-riddled body was found in an SUV just off of Highway 58 by the police. Investigators have not released a name until the family is notified. They are conducting an investigation now. A 7-year-old boy nearly drowned when he and a group of friends jumped a fence at the Carver YFD Center on North Orchard Knob. First responders got there just in time to take him to the hospital. He's now in critical condition. It was going on in the Tennessee Valley. It's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Draymond Green will be watching the NBA Finals from a suite in the Oakland A's Coliseum because he is not permitted in the building. So if he wants to go celebrate with his teammates, if they win tonight, Mr. Green's going to have to hustle. Mr. Green is going to have to hustle. Now, I want to jump into NBA Finals talk, but let me talk about Baylor just a little bit before we move on. And to say this, Baylor is in a position where Art Briles' contract, because they had to fire him, could cost them tens of millions of dollars. And so the pressure to bring him back could be more than just football. It could just be monetary. I don't want to pay Art Briles all of this money if he's not earning it. Because, I mean, there's no way not to pay him. Sure, he looked the other way with a lot of these sexual assault cases, but according to the report, the entire Baylor University, the whole system is culpable. The whole system was designed to make life frustrating for sexual assault victims to report their cases, and a lot of them ended up even being pressured into keeping their stories to themselves, which happened as a result of football, but was not directly caused by Art Briles himself. So withholding that money from him because your entire system was jacked up is really not fair. And, I mean, legally not fair. Because not anybody really cares about Art Briles' bank account when it comes to this particular issue. Like, it wasn't fair to the sexual assault victims either. But legally, it's not fair. And so Baylor could just be bringing Art Briles back for the pressure of saving money. But there is a rumor that one of the recruits that Baylor was in contact with was basically saying we're working on bringing Art Briles back, which leads me to believe that this is in at least a large part a football issue. Also, I feel very slighted right now. There is a live YouTube streaming of this show, Clutch with Keon Rose. If you go to Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube and find it, someone joined the group chat and then they left, which you, sir, are a cretin. I'm going to jump to the NBA Finals, break down the Game 5 of the NBA Finals, because obviously you have the one overlying storyline of Draymond Green is not in this game, which he's the third best player on the team. What Draymond Green does to the Golden State Warriors and what he makes them in terms of the versatility of their team, that this team is able to shoot a lot of three-pointers, mostly because he is a guy at his size that shoots the ball incredibly well. He also handles the ball incredibly well for a big. Draymond Green adds a lot of versatility to this team. And if you take him off the team, you don't just take away an extra shooter. You don't just take away an extra ball handler. You take away from the lineup of death. Now, Golden State has run out various versions of this lineup, right? The lineup of death being Draymond Green at the center position and Steph, Clay, Iguodala, and then some manner of Sean Livingston at the 4 or Harrison Barnes at the 4. And that's been working out really nicely for them when they run that lineup out there. Like, it is a horrifying lineup. Their defensive rating shoots through the roof. Their plus minus shoots through the roof. It's an absurd lineup. And Cleveland kind of countered that lineup a little bit, albeit on accident, when they started Richard Jefferson at the small forward spot and moved LeBron to power forward. Once that happened, they countered it a little bit, and then Golden State played a lot of Bogut Bergeau minutes in Game 4 to combat that and push back. Now we're in a position here where Golden State needs, and I don't know exactly what they need, but they need somebody that's got that versatility off the bench and has that size. And I don't know exactly what they do here. I don't know what they do. You could start Livingston, but if that happens, I don't see why Cleveland wouldn't just go big and try and push Livingston around with some version of Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love. Even LeBron could push on Livingston around because just the size difference is so vast. And that leaves Golden State in something of a precarious position But I'm not going to be complaining about this particular matchup. I think we're going to have a really close, really good game today. I just don't see Golden State being blown out in Oracle. It's very hard to see that happen. That arena gets so loud for them, and it's still such a home court advantage for them. And Steph and Clay play so much better at home, not to mention that statistically across the board, all role players play better at home. So the entire Warriors team is going to be playing a great deal better at home. This entire machine, though, does rely a lot on someone who can get that pick and roll game going, and that was Draymond Green. I'm interested in seeing if we're going to roll with Festus Ezeli's minutes going up, or a guy like Maurice Spates, who can stretch the floor a lot. He doesn't handle the ball quite like Draymond can do, but he is a big that shoots threes. You leave him alone in a corner, you leave him alone at a wing, and he's shooting a three, and he's still punishing you. And Maurice Spates has been doing that all playoff long. And here's the thing, too. I watched Maurice Spates shoot this playoff series, not just this series, but in all the previous ones, and I wasn't aware that Maurice Spates could shoot like that. That was news to me. I looked up and saw Maurice Spates shooting a three, and I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't like once or twice. Maurice Spates was consistently knocking down threes in Houston all the way to this series. I was surprised. If you have that in Maurice Spates, I'm like, man, just run that guy out there. What the Warriors do have in their repertoire that most teams do not have is that their bench is incredibly, incredibly deep. They run 11 guys in the playoffs, which is rare. Most teams will cut their lineups all the way down to 9. Some teams will run with 7, which is just brutal in terms of getting guys rest, getting guys in and out of the game to breathe. But Golden State has a number of guys that can shoot. I mean, game 4, they ran out James Michael McAdoo. And we haven't seen McAdoo this whole season. We haven't seen him at all. And all of a sudden, he was out there contributing and playing real, actual minutes. When you're the Warriors and everybody can shoot, you've got that kind of option that most teams don't have. So maybe losing Draymond Green does not murder this team quite like we think it will, but it's not. It's going to be something that's going to have to be overcome. But man, the Warriors shoot those threes so well. They shoot it so well. They're the first team in NBA Finals history to shoot more threes in a game than 2s. That happened in game 4, and they broke the NBA record of 16 threes in a single game, an NBA Finals record. They shot 17 threes. Steph and Clay came alive in the third quarter, and that was all she wrote. And it's hard. It's hard to look at this team and go, Cleveland's got the best chance of beating them here. Because Cleveland still really doesn't shoot consistently. Like we saw J.R. Smith in game 4 take a bunch of shots that he took in game 3. The only difference is those shots did not go into the basket. He missed a lot of those shots. You saw Kyrie Irving take a lot of the same shots that he took in game 3 and game 4, and a lot of those shots did not go into the basket. I thought Kyrie was actually more effective when he attacked the bucket. When Kyrie Irving put his head down and went to the lane, he was much more effective, in my opinion, than when he tried to pull up and shoot threes. But Kyrie Irving out here acting like he's the ultimate heat check guy. He knocks down 1 3, he's coming up to shoot another, to the detriment of the team. And there was a lot of dribbling for Cleveland in the last game. Just a lot of LeBron holds the ball. He dribbles for 12 seconds. He tries to attack the lane. He doesn't. He passes it back out. It's not a great pass. It's an even worse shot. Cleveland possession over. Kyrie Irving does a lot of dribbling, dribbles for 15 seconds, attacks the basket, can't attack the basket, pulls up for a horrible 18-footer, clang off the rim, end of Cleveland possession. I mean, that's just not going to cut it. That is just not going to get it done. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you need to do what you were doing earlier in the playoffs, where you were playing as a team, where you were moving the ball around, where you looked, quite frankly, a lot like the Warriors do when they're playing well. Everybody's passing the ball around. You're looking for the open man. You're shifting the defense back and forth. That was when Cleveland was at their best, and they've come to rely way too much on LeBron and Kyrie because everybody's afraid to shoot. Nobody wants to be the person taking a terrible shot. And so they let LeBron and Kyrie take terrible shots. And even LeBron doesn't look like he wants to take terrible shots either. LeBron's just deferring to everybody. And I understand that that's in his personality. But to give Cleveland the best chance to win, and I have said this over and over again, LeBron James has to go out there and get points for himself first. Prove to the defense that they need to double team you, and it's going to open up stuff for everybody. Golden State's not scared of LeBron, and they're not afraid of LeBron taking jumpers. Everyone's going to collapse on LeBron in the paint, but no one's afraid of LeBron taking jumpers, which is why LeBron needs to force the issue and get into the paint anyway. Even if he's not scoring, if he's drawing fouls and getting somebody in foul trouble, that also has tremendous value. I don't know what LeBron's doing in that regard. I mean, it just doesn't look like it's helping the team, and Kyrie's trying to do it, but Kyrie can't. He's not consistent enough of a shooter and scorer. It's got to start with LeBron. And LeBron is definitely, of anybody on that team, the best passer. But he looks a little bit passive, and I get it. I'm not going to kill LeBron for that either, because LeBron looks like one thing that he's looked like for a really long time now, and that's just tired. LeBron has been carrying multiple teams to NBA Finals for a while, and it's just back-breaking work. And I wonder why LeBron had not been jumping and dunking as he had in previous years. He can't. There isn't energy there to do that. He's done. His legs are finished. And they should be. Because LeBron James had some games in this NBA playoff run for Cleveland where, no joke, he played all 48 minutes of the basketball game. And I'm looking at the numbers and going, is Ty Lue trying to kill LeBron? You can't do that. LeBron James is north of 30 now. He's 31 years old. It's not going to get easier for him. I mean, some guys on that team just have to step up. He's doing all that he can do. I just need to see him be more aggressive, because that's the only way this team can win. It's not even, LeBron James is being too passive and we're going to hate on LeBron some more. I'm not even hating on LeBron. I'm just saying if he doesn't do it, this team doesn't have a shot. There is nobody else on this team that can do that. LeBron James is legitimately the only two-way player on this basketball team. He can defend and he can score. Everybody else is kind of a joke in as much as they either just defend or they just score. It's kind of humorous when you look at how good Kyrie Irving is on offense and how terrible he is on defense. How good Amon Shumpert is on defense and how awful he is on offense. You just have no overlap between the two. LeBron is the only guy. That's it. If LeBron James doesn't step up tonight, Cleveland is going back home, and they're going back home with no trophy hopes and not with Golden State. Golden State will be staying in Golden State partying. They need a good LeBron James game tonight. Now, it might help some that Draymond's not there to guard him. That will help. The Draymond Iguodala minutes of guarding LeBron James, that was working out pretty nicely. And now when Iguodala needs to sit down, I don't know who you bring out there to guard him necessarily. The minutes that Klay spent on LeBron worked out okay, but when LeBron goes to post up and near the basket, you can't leave Klay alone with LeBron. LeBron will just destroy him. He's just bigger. Really. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know what? I'll jump back to college football really quick because I had a thought about the University of Georgia. Something I really respect about this school and their new contract with their new head coach, Kirby Smart. And hopefully this will heal some wounds, Georgia fans. You can finally get off my back and leave me alone. I have taken many shots at your school because I do think that they have a little brother complex to Alabama. They do. Okay, you're trying to be Alabama. Who doesn't want to be Alabama? You are trying to be Alabama a little bit. You just have when you look in the mirror, right? You have your Georgia hat on, and it's just you. Nobody else there to judge you. Just admit it to yourself. You want to be Alabama like a little bit, right? I'm not making fun of you. You do. You do. But I will say this about something I respect about Georgia. With Kirby Smart as their new head coach, they have actually written into his contract that if Kirby Smart gets involved with unethical behavior, which I believe the school can define what it is that is. If he gets involved in unethical behavior, they can actually terminate his contract, and they don't owe him a dime, which would be really handy right now for Baylor. Baylor is in a position where they owe Art Briles way too much money. They owe him way too much money, to the point where they're beholden to the man of possibly bringing him back to coach at the campus where he allowed terrible sexual assaults to happen. And again, got to say this, but I'm going to digress here really quickly to say this. I am a huge fan of second chances. I do believe that guys deserve a second chance. And I believe that even Art Briles deserves a second chance to coach somewhere. I don't believe he deserves to have a second chance coaching at Baylor, especially not a year from now. That's too soon. Really? He doesn't, not at Baylor. It's too soon. And when you consider the terror that was basically wreaked on that campus, no. Art Briles, coach somewhere else. You know, build up somebody else's school. You got Baylor from the dark ages. Go do that somewhere else, man. But you can't do it at Baylor again. But if Baylor could terminate Art Briles' contract, boy, that would help some of this stuff a ton, because Art Briles is not giving out any information because it's not in his interest to give out any information, because Art Briles is like, look, you still owe me a few million, and I'm going to collect all of that million, as any reasonable person would. I understand that, like, morally, there's a reason why Art Briles should probably just let it go. But when you start talking about millions of dollars in the order of the tens of millions, yeah, there's nobody on earth letting it go. Even if you're wrong, it's $10 million worth of wrong, though. There's nobody letting that go. not a single person on earth. So, yeah, if Baylor could have terminated that contract, I'm sure they would greatly enjoy that, because Georgia's got that built into the contract of Kirby Smart. So if something like that were to happen, Kirby Smart would be gone from the University of Georgia, and they wouldn't owe him a nickel. If Kirby Smart were involved in any of the things that Hugh Freeze is involved in at Ole Miss, they would terminate him, and they wouldn't owe him not one red cent. So think about that there for a second. Also, just a random aside, because I just learned this today, and I was not aware that was a thing. Hugh Freeze was Michael Oher's coach, his high school coach in The Blind Side. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but that was his coach, and he got Michael Oher to come to Ole Miss, which I think is just a wonderful, wonderful, sketchy thing to know more of about Hugh Freeze using his high school connection to get a player to come play for him in college. But Hugh Freeze is still hiding from information being revealed at Ole Miss, information that he said was originally not true, and how, you know, he was, a lot of the infractions that Ole Miss accrued happened before he got there, and then you come to find out that a great number of those infractions that Ole Miss acquired happened while Hugh Freeze was very much the head coach at Ole Miss. And I don't know which school I want to be less right now, Baylor or Ole Miss, in terms of football, because one, you got it over quickly because of the nature of the case, because of how quickly you had to act to prove what was acceptable and not acceptable on your campus. you had to let Art Browse go quick. So you got it all over with quickly. You know that he's not your coach. With Hugh Freeze, you don't want to fire him because he is a good coach and certainly a guy that you are paying a ton of money. Hugh Freeze is actually one of the highest paid coaches in the SEC, and he got Ole Miss, again, out of the dark ages, which that can't be understated how much bringing a school from being unknown to being fairly prominent in a very short amount of time, it cannot be understated how valuable that is and how valuable that makes that guy. And Hugh Freeze, they don't want to fire him necessarily, but at the same time, he is in trouble and he could be gone. And that leaves your football team in some kind of bizarre limbo where now you no longer have a football coach. I don't know exactly what is going to happen with Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss, though I do suspect that given the nature of a lot of these investigations, Ole Miss is going to be fine. They're going to get away with these infractions as long as they don't violate them. Because no school's going to get the death penalty really ever again. Like, you would have to be insane to somehow end up getting the death penalty again. This is what happens to get the death penalty. It's not just violating the NCAA rules. It's not violating the NCAA rules multiple times. You can violate them a lot. As we learned with North Carolina and Syracuse in basketball, and as we learned with Alabama in football 4 years ago. You can violate them, and you can violate them multiple times, but you cannot violate NCAA rules multiple times while being on probation for violating NCAA rules. So while they're punishing you, yeah, just let it go. But I don't think anybody's really going to do enough to get their football program just axed. Though Ole Miss is shockingly and disturbingly close. Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze, they're very, very close, just walking on the line. And I'm not going to say that they're going to be there, but if they're not careful, I don't want to find out what happens again. Certainly, if you have a school like Ole Miss that gets so big so fast, it's one of those things where the traditional powers of the conference, your Alabama, your Tennessees, your Georgias, your Floridas, they're not going to have your back. Like, all of those schools support each other. They'll support schools in the South. They'll support other schools in the SEC, but not you, because you weren't one of these schools. You know what I mean? Like, Ole Miss's little brother on the outside looking in wants to join the clubhouse with the big kids, but he can't really do it. And those schools will not have your back if somehow you find yourself getting the axe. Because what they're going to do is they're going to recruit your players the instant they have the opportunity to do so. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours. Make sure to hustle on over to the arena, Draymond.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air.